Guys, wInevitable here with another little video guide of the Lost Vikings. That's right, a patch went out yesterday. We've had some time to play with these guys. They're a blast. For any of you that don't know, this is the newest hero to Here's the Storm, and you can actually control, there are 3 of them, they count as one hero, and you can control them separately. So let's take a look at these guys. They're a lot of fun. Really hard to use, but I think there's a lot of reward here, and there is some potential for seeing these guys in competitive play. Possibly, we have to see how things go. It's so new, people are still figuring them out, and I think for the next week or so they're going to be banned from tournaments anyway, so we won't probably see them in anything. But there's no reason not to use them in your quick match and Hero League games by all means. So you can see I've turned the overlay off just because this is, a different UI for the Lost Vikings. It's completely different. And so you want to be able to check all of these things out. You've got 3 guys. You've got Olaf, this dude right here in the front.
Not for Olaf.
And then you've got Baleog, this guy.
Here.
And then Erik.
I'm Erik. Too fast, too furious.
Too fast, too furious. All right. So there's 3 of them. This is the master skin, the second tint of the master skin. I do have the pajama skin, so we're going to show that off in the game. And of course, you can see the default skin in the shop.
Hello.
Really cool little artworks and animations, and just a really nice solid UI. You can see they are individually selectable. I can drag and drop, just like in StarCraft, and the RTS. I can select all 3. I can select 2.
Of course
Go here.
Need me.
I can select all 3.
I'm hungry.
I can just select one guy. I can also have the hotkeys down here. And we want to look at this real quick. Go to your options menu. If this is your first time setting these guys up, go to the hotkeys. So options, into hotkeys, into advanced, and then I believe it is control groups. And right here, 1 through 5. Initially, when the patch went through, for like most of us, these will not be set. They won't have a hotkey. So you have to go through and manually set these. And I set them to the number of keys. You can set them to anything. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Of course, you don't want to conflict with like your other basic ability keys and your heroic. So, and your mount keys and attack. There's some keys you don't want to use for these. So be careful when you set these. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is a safe choice. Of course, why there's a 5th one, I don't know. There's really no way. With these guys, it's only 1 through 4 that you really use. So you do that, you come back out, and of course I didn't show it off, but 4 will select all of them. So if I have 1 guy selected and then I tap 4, I can then go back. And you see 1, 2, 3, and then 4 selects all. You've noticed the character panel here, they do have different stats as well. And down here you've got their life bars. These will actually go from top to bottom. They will increment downwards as the hero takes damage.
Yeah,
Lots of stuff going on with these guys here. Let's spawn some minions. You can see Erik, the little dude, is the fastest. He attacks the fastest, but he has this lowest amount of hit points and does the least damage.
Where am I going?
He's ranged. Number 2, Baleog is ranged, and then Olaf is the melee guy. He actually has like the highest health regen of the 3 and the most hit points. You can see here at 650 and the 1.36 regen. And then you've got Baleog's in the middle at 501.04, and then Erik's 350.73. So he is like by far the weakest, but he's the fastest, and he's got the longest range. So you can usually keep him in safe positions and keep him, so he's not like being the center of attention. Of course, they also have different attacks. The 2 and 3, I keep calling them by the numbers, but Baleog and Erik are ranged. Of course, Olaf is melee. His damage is 20, and then you got 26 on Baleog and 18 on Erik. As I was saying, Erik's the lowest damage, but of course he does attack the fastest, and then Baleog hits the hardest with, I believe, the middle attack speed. If you look, it's a 1 attack per second with Olaf, and then Baleog's 1.11. So your highest DPS dude is actually going to be Baleog. He's like the guy that does the damage. Erik's more like a scout almost, and he's really good by himself. He can kind of solo things because he's got that range and he's got the speed. So he's really good at like scouting things a lot. Really good at that. And then Olaf rather is just like the tank of the 3. He's like the mini tank. He actually slows people around his character model, I believe. Let me check that out because there's some things that aren't represented in game. But yeah, so we're going to select all 4, and then we go over their abilities. You can see right now I don't have any abilities. Let's show off the mount, though. It's called Go, Go, Go. It's a cooldown of 30 seconds. Gain a 40% increased move speed for 4 seconds. So if we're in trouble, it can be used for a couple different things. Say you're in trouble and you need to get somebody out. You just tap Z, and then you pull them out. Now you notice they all activate at the same time. Their abilities are global, so it's going to affect all three. You can't use the mount one at a time, unfortunately. I wish you could, but that would be a very complicated UI system. You'd have to have 3 different mount timers, 3 different Q timers, and things, just like you have with the health bars. And maybe at some point in the future we'll see that with Blizzard. Who knows? But you know, maybe another hero will have that implemented at some point. But right now, the mount works for all 3 at once. It's just 30-second cooldown, and you know, it goes just like that. You can use this to get across the map a little bit quicker because, as you notice, they don't have a traditional mount. They just walk wherever they're going, and their speed is, well, it doesn't tell you exactly how fast they are, but you can see we're walking about the same as a Malfurion, with Erik, of course, being a little bit faster.
Too fast, too furious.
Okay, and so I think that does it for like the basics here. We've covered kind of their character stats, and then you can see, let's see if we can get somebody to take damage. We didn't really focus on that. So as Olaf's taking damage, he's actually probably going to die. No, he didn't die. Okay, you can see his health bar went way down. And that's an important, actually. Olaf is going to give his life for science. Alright. Olaf, they have separate death timers. Look at that. And they also have their trait. Death timers are reduced by 25%. And of course then they spawn back here. And so you can have 2 up at a time, you can have 1 up, you can have all 3 alive at the same time. Separate death timers, and it's 25% reduction. So they're not down as long as they give 25% XP as well. And I want to do one more thing I want to show you. I wanted to, let's refresh the forts. And we're going to let, unfortunately now Baleog is going to give his life. And then you can Q move. When they're dead, you can select them and right click where you want them to go. And immediately when they spawn, they'll go there. And if you didn't hear it as well, there's also a ping that happened on the map when he respawned. Really interactive UI here to really help you, make it a little bit easier to play with these guys if you're newer, if you're not like an RTS veteran. And so, another thing I want to show you is that little, I'm taking damage, that little ping, that, or whatever, the little ping on the map. It wasn't really auditory. Let's send him into the tower range. And there you go. I actually got the notification that I was taking tower damage. So, you know, if you're not necessarily going to have all of these guys in the same position on the map at the same time, you'll get some audio feedback that will tell you when you're taking damage, and it really helps you to know that you have to check out, okay, somebody's taking trouble, which one is it? And of course you can double tap the hotkeys to center on them, so we'll split them up, 1, 2, and 3, and if I tap 3, brings me over here, 1, I'm double tapping the key, just like in StarCraft, and you can use that to get around really fast. You can also set camera keys, so like F1, I set that to F1, that's a hotkey you can set as well. Really useful. I use that a lot with Abathur. I'll use it sometimes with other heroes. I don't use it as much in this game as I would in StarCraft 2, but that would be under, I believe, camera. You go down here, it's create location. I've changed these around to just control. I think it was initially control shift F1 is the hotkey, the default hotkey, and then it's like control F1 to access it. I just made it a little bit simpler, where it's control plus the F key, and then it's just hit the F key, the function key, to get to that location. You can have 8 of those. Those are really useful as well. You can use those with any hero. But yeah, so remember, you can double tap hotkeys to get back. You've got a little bit of audio feedback when your guys are taking damage and they're not on screen. You'll usually get a ping. You'll get a ping when they respawn usually, and of course when they're dead you can tell them where to go when they come back up. You can give them a waypoint. You don't have to shift Q anything, you just hit their hotkey, select them, and right click where you want them to go. Okay, so there's a lot to cover. I'm not sure if we're going to get everything, but I think that does it for this part. Let's go ahead and look at their talents, where some of their abilities come into play. I hope, like, at this point we've kind of covered everything we want to, you know, I'm sure I might have missed something, but it's a general guide of everything that goes through. And so we've got, you know, their talent choices here. You noticed, as we talked about, they do not have any abilities. You can unlock these at level 4, level 7, and level 16, and as a talent choice instead. So at level 1, you've got a couple choices. There's a block on Olaf. Every 8 seconds he blocks an attack, reducing it by 75% damage, 2 charges. That's actually a little bit better than the traditional block. It's 75% instead of 50%, because of course his hit point bounce is only 650, which is more than a Murky and an Abathur, but it's a little bit less than a Tehran. And she's already paper thin, right? So, you know, he is not the largest health pool. I guess if you add all these guys up, what do you get? Like 850, 950, 1,500 hit points.
I hear you.
That's not terrible for a level 1. That's actually
Not for Olaf.
pretty good, because if you think about it, your tanks are like 1,060. Your big tanks, your Diablo and your Stitches, and then of course Asmodan are 1,060 at level 1. So these guys have 1,500 between them.
Erik,
That's actually a lot of
Baleog here.
hit
What
points.
you need?
And then their damage output is like
What
20,
now?
46,
What?
64 or something about that. You know, so over 60 on each attack, and that's a lot of damage. So these guys are not, you know, trivial. They're weak on their own, weaker than a normal hero on their own, but together they're definitely stronger than a single hero otherwise. And so they're, you know, that's kind of the thing, is how do you use these guys? Do you split them up, put one in each lane to soak, and then you have your other 4 heroes kind of roam together? Do you put 3 in one lane and just play them in a single lane? Do you split them up with other heroes in different lanes to soak? I don't know. We're trying to figure it out. I have a couple ideas. We'll have to see how it works out. But let's go over the talents and abilities here. We've got the block on level 1, which we talked about is a little bit better than the traditional block. And that's only on Olaf, though. And then you get spy games where if Erik stands still for 5 seconds, he becomes cloaked. His sight radius is almost doubled, 75% more, and it persists for 3 seconds after moving. Essentially, Erik becomes a ward. And it's really cool. If you need the vision, this is really cool to use and definitely play around with. Viking Horde is another cool one. It's basically regen master. You get a base regen of +1 to start, and then for every globe you pick up on any Viking, all of the Vikings get 0.5 more health regen per second. So that's what I'm talking about. If you split them up into 3 lanes, you can actually grab 3 regen globes every wave, every 30 seconds. That's 2
what's the plan?
waves per minute, which is 6. So it's going to be like an extra 3 health regen every minute. At one point, I had like 20 stacks of this before level 10. So like, you know, their regen went from like 1.36. I had it at like 18. You know, it goes up a little bit every level. If you look here, like it'll go up like 0.3, but you can really stack that if you're soaking separate lanes. I think this is the way to go. Otherwise, I don't know how I feel about the other 2. We have to play around with these. Spy games has some potential, I think, and block isn't terrible. But I really love this if you can soak 3 lanes early. So we'll go ahead and take that, and then look at level 4. Of course, this isn't really going to be an official guide because they're so new. We'll probably come back and look at them again in a future video, but we'll give you some idea of what talents are good, what to take here. Let's go to level 4. Okay, so here is where you get the first ability, Q, Spin to Win. It deals damage around each Viking. It deals 90 damage to nearby enemies. And it's a cooldown of 12 seconds. They don't have mana, of course. So it's a cooldown-based ability like in, an Illidan or an Abathur. And so you'll deal damage. Of course, it is global, so all 3 spin at the same time, and you can do 90 damage with each one, which is 270 damage at level 4. And of course, it scales incrementally as you level up. Then you've got a couple upgrades for Erik, the smallest, the scout, as we called him, of the 3, and one for Baleog. Baleog's is his basic attacks, is basically like a lifesteal. They splash damage. Basic attacks and splash damage heal for 20% of the damage dealt. We didn't talk about that a little bit with Baleog. It's important to note his attacks will actually splash behind and hit minions behind, or hit enemies behind the target that he's attacking. So we'll show this off really fast with just Baleog. If I go in here and attack, we'll attack this dude and watch the archer behind him is taking damage. You can see these guys in the back row are taking damage. There's splash damage coming through. So you with your Baleog, you really have to position him correctly to get the most out of that splash damage. Because he does a ton of damage. Remember, he does the most damage out of the 3. Of course, I mean, if you do the DPS here...
I hear you.
I'm not going to do that math on screen, it's too many decimals, but they both have good DPS, but his damage per attack is the largest of the 3. Okay, so this is like a lifesteal, 20% onto Baleog. Then you've got Sabotage, where it's basically Demolitionist on Erik. Against structures, destroy 5 ammo over 10 seconds. It is over 10 seconds though, so it takes a little bit of time, but this is kind of like, if you're split pushing with Erik, because he's such like a fast like scouting kind of dude, he can kind of just go in and like sap some ammo from a tower while nobody's looking. And then you've got his base, he gains a basic attack, a melee attack, that knocks the enemy away, and this has a 6-second cooldown. which isn't cool. I mean, it was kind of cool, I guess, if you're facing against a melee engaged comp. Right now, the favorite for most people is to go spin to win. And so if I tap Q, that's what the spin looks like. It deals 90 damage around each hero. So it's, like we said, 270. I want to play around with these more, but a safe choice is spin to win right now, just to play around with that. I do think there's a lot of potential for these guys to play them in a couple different ways. And so we'll go to level 7, take a look here. You've got the generic talent Mercenary Lord, and this works. I don't know that this... I can't test it on this map. I'll have to test this to see if it stacks. I don't believe it would stack between... Yeah, it wouldn't stack. That wouldn't make sense. But you could basically have Merc Lord on... You'd have it on all 3, and you could have Merc Lord in 3 lanes, which is kind of dangerous. I've never seen that done. I don't know if that's viable at all. It's an interesting thought. Then you've got an upgrade for Baleog. His basic attacks increase attack speed, so kind of like a Vala, by 8%, stacking up to 5 times, and after 3 seconds of not attacking, that effect decays. It goes away. So that's 8% times 5 is 40. 40% increased attack speed, which means he'll attack far faster than Erik. Oh, I didn't mean to select that actually. Shoot, no! I want to show off the jump, the W. So there's, like I said, we're still trying to figure out these guys, what works, what doesn't. There's some cool abilities for sure. Then you go Erik the Swift. Erik heals himself as long as he's running. He gains 39 health per second. So you could kind of play a mini game where you're kind of microing Erik on the mini map, and then you're focusing with these guys, and then Erik, you're just kind of pinging on the map, keeping him moving, and then I'm microing these guys, and then I'm going back to Erik and I'm pinging him. I don't know. That's kind of an interesting, cool thing. I don't know if that were loot. How useful the talent that is. W is the big one here. It makes all of them invulnerable, all 3. It's cooldown of 20 seconds. It's called jump. I call it W. It's on the W key. And it's able to pass over enemies for 1.5 seconds. Now, you cannot pass over terrain with this, but you can get out of body blocks. You can get out of CC. And it's pretty cool. We'll actually go in here. So, W. And then we Q. And then we're attack moving. Pretty cool. So if we clear that just to show it off again, let's split these guys up too so they're not all clumped. And W would be like this. And then you can still move. It's 1.5 seconds of invulnerability, and you are not body blocked. So you can... Well, you're not body blocked by enemies. So I guess you could still be body blocked by friends. I don't know, let's test that out actually. You can mouth body block me. Wait for mouth to stand still. Alright. Nope, you can pass over. It looks like you can pass over the friendlies as well. I think, yeah. Yeah. Okay, so you're not body blocked by anybody. Whereas right now, I can't walk through mouth. I have to walk around Malfurion. You can, of course, the W is good for that, getting out of a situation where you're body blocked or you're about to take damage. I mean, lethal damage. Then we go up to level 10. They have 2 heroic choices, pretty cool. Longboat is probably the favorite right now. Longboat raid, cooldown of 90 seconds. You hop into this. It's like it's a ship. It's the Viking longboat. Play some music. Q is a mortar, which does a ton of area damage. It's 250 at level 10. It's a ranged attack like that, and then of course it is auto attacking. And there is the lifespan of 12 seconds. The mortar deals 250 in an area, and the attacks are 190 per second. It also, the boat has the increased health per Viking inside. Now to use this, it's important to note, all of the Vikings alive at the time have to be in a certain radius. You can see right now I cannot activate it, even though it's up because my Vikings are split. If Baleog were to die, I could then use it. Or if Baleog walks a little bit closer, right there, we're good. But then if Erik comes back, too far away. So there's a base radius where you have to be together. When you tap R, you're in the ship, and it's attacking. You can see it's doing 190 per second to Arthas. I don't think you can't really tell it what to attack at this point. I'm not sure if right. Let's see if right click. I want it to attack the tower, right? I can't tell it to attack the tower, so unfortunately you can't target it. You can target the Q, but the basic attacks of the ship, it's just going to, I guess it's something programmed in the AI. It's going to attack, so you don't have a lot of control over that. But it does a ton of damage, and of course it's that second health bar. That's really cool and useful for if one of your Vikings is about to die in a team fight, you can hit R, and then boom, you've got that second you know, basically a get out of jail free card. Of course, it's also usable as long as any surviving Vikings are close together. As I said, it doesn't have to be all three. It could just be one guy. If only one guy's left, he can use the longbow. It just won't have as much health. We'll go up and we'll show off the other heroic that isn't as used like at this point so far this early. You know, we're in day 2 right now, so it's pretty early. But at this point, it just doesn't seem to be as viable. That's called Play Again. Cooldown is shorter cooldown by 10 seconds, so it's 80 seconds. You summon and revive all Lost Vikings at target location after a Viking channels for 2 seconds. Only one Viking can attempt this at a time. So I'm going to send these two. I like sending 1 and 2 out together, Olaf and Baleog, and then using Erik kind of because he's faster, he's a little bit of that range to like kind of, I don't know, get into trouble somewhere else on the map. So let's send these two guys in, and then refresh the forts. Uh-oh, they're going to go try and take this tower down. Now they're level 10.
Okay, let's go.
I don't think it's gonna work. I don't think they're gonna be able to get through the gate, unfortunately. Sent them into a rough spot. And now the minions are coming, so it's just not looking good for these guys. We're gonna take Plate again. They're both dead, and then I can hit R, click where I want it to happen, and look at that. They're all summoned to me. Just like that. So, sending these guys in again.
Let's get lost.
And yeah, okay. It's kind of hard to do this in the try mode because they don't die that quickly. I guess we'll like we'll refresh the forts. There we go. That'll do it. All right. Just to show it off one more time because it's really hard to see.
Hey, it's Olaf.
All right, one of these days he's gonna die. But you can see the regen on this guy. Like he just didn't want to die. Okay, so boom. Calls down the little, like the Viking drop pod, and then they're all right back. And it's an 80-second cooldown. Kind of cool. So let's level up to 13. You do not have another ability at this level. You have 3 different choices. Burning Rage on Olaf, 54 damage per second to nearby enemies. Increased movement speed when injured one under 50% life. Vikings gain 20% increased move speed. And then Impatience is a virtue, which is basically battle momentum. Enemies damaged by the basic attack from any of the Vikings reduce the cooldown of their abilities by 0.25 seconds. So if they all attack at once, that's like 0.75 off of one of your abilities, which is 12, 20, and of course the heroic as well. I kind of like the Impatience as a virtue here. There's some potential for these, but I've been trying this one out the most.
That'll be fun.
And then 16 is the other ability you can get is Norse Force. This is on the E key. It's a cooldown of 60 seconds. You activate to have each Viking gain a shield 420 to 840. At this level, it scales per level, and the shield hit points depends on how many Vikings are alive. Lasts for 7 seconds. So if they're all alive, it's 840. If only one is alive, it's 420. And if 2 are alive, you have to split the difference. So add 210 to 630 on the shield. And that goes, each one gets a shield for that many hit points, which at this point in the game, if we're looking hit points 2060, 2000, and 1400. Not too shabby, honestly. Like,
What do you need?
Thinking about that with like,
Baleog to stab something.
I think together that's the most hit points in the game because it's 3, 4, 5, 6. That's 6,000 hit points between them at level 16, whereas a Diablo and a Stitches don't hit 6,000 until level 20. Without not counting the souls on Diablo, it wouldn't be till level 20 with their base hit points that they would get 6,000 HP. So a lot of hit points on these guys, and that shield can do a lot of life saving right there. 64 kilobyte marathon. You gain an additional 40% move speed when you activate your mount. Go go go! It decays over 4 seconds, so it starts out at a huge boost and then it drops over time. Additionally, they are unstoppable for 1 second, so they can't be like stopped or CC'd. Kind of useful to get out of a situation. This might be more useful if you're split pushing. And then there's Large and In Charge, where Olaf charges the enemies and stuns them for 1 second. It's not activated, he just kind of does this when he attacks.
What do you need?
But Norse Force, I think, is the biggest one here. You can see that shield. Now it's not, I shouldn't have activated it that early, it's only 7 seconds, but you actually I want to kite him back there to kind of split the shield damage up.
Hurry up
Pull him out, and then the tower's going to aggro onto Olaf. And then we'll take it down. Okay.
Let's go.
So that's level 16. And then level 20, there's 3 choices. There are, of course, 2 heroic upgrades, which you'll have your choice of depending on which heroic you take. Ragnarok and Roll allows the longbow to attack 2 targets at once instead of 1, doubles the damage, and the range of the mortars increased by 100%. And the range is really short to begin with. It's a lob shot, so it's a little hard to hit. That range is really good to have. If you take the longbow, this is definitely useful. I would probably go with that. If you've taken the other heroic, the play again, checkpoint reached is your upgrade option, and any dead Vikings are revived and summoned a second time 10 seconds later. So I believe if you have 2 guys down, you use R, you play again, you bring them back in. There's 3 of you, and then if you all die, all 3 of you die, you'll be revived 10 seconds later. But that's 10 seconds from when the R is used. So what you have to do is have one guy not die, and then the other 2 go in and die, right? Well, yeah, we'll show this off in a second. Sequel is the 3rd one. This goes with the trait. It stacks onto the initial 25% reduction, makes it 50%. This is really nice to have, honestly. 50% reduction is pretty cool. But let's try out checkpoint reached. And I think most of the time I'm seeing Ragnarok Roll taken. So if we all go in and attack, we're just going to solo a float without minions. I don't know, we might actually be able to solo this at this point. No, there we go. We'll add some minions to the battle. I want these 2 to die, so I'm going to try and, Now you can see at this point, it's a very short reduction timer. And then 2, 3. I don't think they're going to kill us. It's a little hard to show off. But if we were all to die right now, we would be revived. But you can see the timer went down. So, unfortunately, in this situation, it's hard to see how to use that. Ideally, and it's from the drop pod location, so you kind of have to be very strategic about where you place it and like how you're using it. You'd have 1 guy survive, ideally 2 would go in and die, and then you basically get, the 2 come right back, the 3 of you go in and you die, and then so it's like a second life on all of them. It's a little hard to explain, but pretty interesting idea there. I'm not sure if that's going to be ever really too viable, but I think honestly that could be useful if you're like maybe split pushing a keep down or something, or in a team fight like to defend a core, or like team fighting to, I don't know, any kind of big team fight too. It would be very useful. And so what you do is you would have 1 guy, like I said, you need 1 guy, probably going to be Erik. He's the longest range and the fastest, is going to be the one who survives. And then he's going to use play again. And the idea is it's kind of like a Murky's egg, and there's no way to destroy it. So it's not like they can destroy the egg. You're going to get that second revive timer. And there's a little bit of a potential there, but I just don't know. With the longboat, it's hard to see taking play again over a longboat raid. That's the one problem. If this was, I don't know. We have to play around with it more, like I'm saying. But right now, I would probably go with longboat raid, and then take Ragnarok and Roll or the sequel at level 20, just to, play around with that. Play again, though, definitely has some viability. These guys are a lot of fun to play, too. I look forward to playing them in a game and showing them off and having some fun with them, because they're a blast. They really are. As long as you like the micro, they're a little bit, like I said, it's not easy. It can be draining, and you have to have your eyes on the map. You have to be in sometimes 3 locations at once. It does get a little bit easier if you stack them in 1 lane together. It's a little bit easier that way. And even then, you can still micro them. Like, if Olaf takes a ton of damage, I can pull him back and let Baleog tank for a minute, let his regen kick in. And now I'm going to pull him back so he's not tanking too much damage, let his health regen kick in. So there's a lot of fun here. Just like kind of playing StarCraft. Even if you don't split them up in multiple locations on the map. Alright guys, thanks for watching. That's going to do it for this. It was a lot to cover with these guys. They're really cool hero, complex. There's a lot going on. We'll definitely come back and do some more gameplay with them. And, we'll look at how the builds develop and maybe do a little bit more on that in the future to give you guys a better glimpse into like a really strong way to build them. But this isn't a bad way where you take the abilities, your choice here on 1, and then of course I like the longboat on 10 with either the upgrade or sequel on 20, and then impatience here for the reduction on all cooldowns on level 13 is pretty cool. Well, that's it, guys. So thanks for watching, and you know, I'll be coming back with more videos soon. We got some gameplay coming up, lots of cool things happening, and I'll see you guys on the Nexus.